Hello, my name is Sharon Silverman, and I'm one of the librarians at City Colleges of Chicago. I'm going to discuss with you how to develop library research and information literacy skills. What is information literacy? There are several types of information literacy. You have computer literacy, media literacy, and cultural literacy. We're going to discuss all three. As a student, you are learning to become more information literate. This allows you to know how to find your information you need and how to interpret the information you find so that it has a purpose with your research. Now, what's research and what's not research? We'll find out. These resources and becoming more information literate allows you to be more employable once you go out in the working environment. Once you've mastered research, you'll know how to acquire information. Now, I have a question. Why do you think the book states that information literacy is a premier survival skill for the modern world? Now, do you agree? Why or why not? Think about that as we move on with the discussion. Choosing, narrowing, and researching a topic. Now, before you start a search, you must have an idea of what you're looking for. You must choose a topic. I strongly encourage you, when you're doing research for a paper or a course or a class, you select a topic that's of interest to you. And if the topic is broad, like teen pregnancy, you need to narrow it down. Narrowing it down would be teen pregnancy in African American girls. Then, once you've done that, figure out the direction you want to go in acquiring your information or pursuing it. Using the library. Please take advantage of using the library, your home library, and everything that it has to offer. Your home campus library or even your neighborhood library. Remember, libraries are more than a document warehouse. And also remember, use your library's homepage as your electronic gateway to its services. Also, ask a librarian. We are information experts who are trained to assist you and guide you towards the resources you need for your research. Another question for you. Is the library a necessary resource for learning in college? Why or why not? Think about that as we move on. Another type of resource to assist you is electronic resources. Now, what are electronic resources? Well, let's start with the library catalogs. The library catalogs tell you what books, magazines, newspapers or videos, and possibly other materials that you can use in your particular library. Another type of electronic resource is periodical databases. They allow you to hunt or search for articles published in hundreds or thousands of newspapers, magazines, and scholarly journals. The World Wide Web. What does this do? When you use Google, because that's the most popular one, you are aggregating information from opinions and sales pitches from servers around the world. But there are guidelines for effective searches. You must remember the guidelines. So now, let's move on. In order to get a sense of what the guidelines are, I want you to go talk to a family member, a parent, or even an older friend who went to college. Ask them how they conducted their research before there was internet. Now, here it goes. This is the fun part. Write a short review on the strategies they use by the former generations to access and use this information. That you can use as your roadmap of guidelines for your research. Now let's go on to another step. You need to know how to also to become more information literate, how to evaluate your how to evaluate your sources. The first thing you need to do is check for relevance. How well does this particular resource that you found or located fit your needs for your search? Also, the authority of the resource. Was it created by someone who had qualifications on that particular topic or subject? Also, is it biased? Did the person or persons who wrote this, were they using their biased opinion or not? And also, let me give you a note on internet sources. Out there in the World Wide Web, if you just go out and Google something, be very cautious of the materials that you find online. Oftentimes, it's very difficult to locate where this particular information came from. Now, as a rule of thumb, if you go to a website, scroll all the way down to the bottom and see two things. Try to locate the date and try to locate the name or the author of that particular page. If it's current, 2012, 2011, then you know they at least attempted to update it. 2012, you know it's definitely current. The name will allow you to use that author when you cite your resource. We'll get to citation later. I have another question for you. How do you find sources for your paper? Now, do you first go to Google or do you use a more deliberate process like your library? What strategies can you use to make sure your internet or your library research results in valid information? Let me say that again. What strategies can you use to make sure your internet or library research results in valid information? Think about that as we move on. Now, in your opinion, what newspapers or magazines or TV networks are biased? Do you watch different do you read different newspapers and you're like, that sounds like that's their opinion? Or have you watched a TV network and you thought, wow, that sounds like they're being very opinionated? Are they being biased or not? Now, does this biased point of view make you more or less likely to read or watch it? Also, why do you think many people expose themselves only to opinions or viewpoints like their own? That was a lot to think about, wasn't it? Let's move on. One of the most frequently visited sites on the web is Wikipedia. Now, what is Wikipedia? I'm sure you know because students love it. Now, let me tell you about Wikipedia. It is a collaborative reference written and maintained by volunteers. But now, most of the articles can and have been edited by anyone with internet access. So now, what are the pros and cons of using such a site as a source for a research paper? Let me give you an example. Students, you go to Wikipedia, you search for, let's say, information on Eiffel Tower in France. Locate that edit button, EDIT, click on it. Now, if you can go in and change some information, how many others have done it? Let's move on. As students, always remember to make use of what you find. when when you're synthesizing information and ideas, synthesizing, going through what you're acquiring, what you're locating. Oftentimes, you accept some of the ideas, you would reject others, or you're combining it. That's fine because what this does, it allows and helps you create new information and ideas. So now, one good way to do that when you're synthesizing information and ideas, write an outline. Also, citing your sources. That definitely allows you to make use of what you find. Because once you cite the sources, you are allowing first your instructor to see where you obtain the information from, but it allows you to go back and pull it up again. Now, I want you to remember something. If you use somebody else's exact words, you must give them credit for it. Also, if you use someone else's ideas, even if you put it in your own words, you still need to give them credit for it. Why? If you do not, that's called plagiarism. Okay? And plagiarism oftentimes is grounds for an F or expulsion. Now, I'm not trying to scare you. I just want you to be aware and cautious. If you use someone's idea, if you use someone's thoughts and summarized it, if you use someone's exact words, give them credit for it. That's called citing your sources. Your instructor is not going to allow you to just tell them, oh, I didn't know. That's not a valid excuse. Please just cite your sources and give them credit for it. Now, tech tip. Online research in an academic setting. These are a couple of things you need to remember. Always use peer-reviewed academic journals. What are peer-reviewed academic journals? These are journals with articles written by someone who is noted in that field of study. English, history, speech, library science. Okay? Also, use government websites. If you're going to go out on the World Wide Web, obtain your information from a government website. Or use newspaper websites. Newspapers, they make sure that they keep their information current. Now let me give you some tricks on how to refine your search. You're always going to start with your keywords. Okay? So my paper is teen pregnancy and African American girls. Keywords, teen pregnancy, African American girls. Okay? Now, when you're searching, you can use your keywords and separate them by a space and a plus sign, or you can do a Boolean trick, Boolean, and use and, or, not. So, if you wanted all your keywords to appear in your search result, you would use and. If you wanted one or the other, you would use or. If you wanted one and cancel out the other, you would use not. Okay? Or you can put your keywords in brackets or parentheses. You can also use minus signs or frame them with asterisks. Now, that's my session. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions, remember, always contact your local library or ask a librarian. Have a good day. Thank you.